today's horror retrospective, we're going to take a look at a movie which is shocking, controversial, and very unforgettable, as once you've seen it, it will stay with you forever. Few films have pushed boundaries like this movie did. Today, we're diving into the infamous shockumentary. The early 1990s were a fascinating yet controversial time in the world of entertainment. The home video market was booming, and with it came a wave of underground, boundary-pushing films that bypassed mainstream cinema. Among these was a subgenre known as the shockumentary, a form of documentary-style filmmaking that focused on graphic, often real-life footage meant to shock and disturb viewers. The most infamous example at the time was Faces of Death, a pseudo-documentary released in 1978 that featured a mix of staged and real footage of death and gore. But by the time the 90s rolled around, audiences had grown more skeptical and desensitized to staged shock value. This is where Traces of Death entered the scene. Released in 1993, the film was directed by Damon Fox and marketed as The Real Deal, a shockumentary that promised to show 100% authentic footage of death, destruction, and human suffering. It was a bold claim, and one that set it apart from its predecessors, which often relied on reenactments or special effects to fill in the gaps. Unlike its predecessor, Traces of Death went beyond entertainment and delved into the macabre curiosity surrounding real-life death and violence. It shocked audiences worldwide, creating both fascination and outrage. Traces of Death came at a time when society's fascination with death was at an all-time high, fueled by a mix of media sensationalism and growing access to uncensored content. News outlets were increasingly showing graphic footage of war zones, accidents and disasters, while tabloid culture thrived on lurid and shocking headlines. In a way, Traces of Death capitalized on this societal shift, offering audiences a voyeuristic glimpse into the raw and unfiltered realities of mortality. The film wasn't just another entry in the shockumentary genre, it was a deliberate escalation. Damon Fox leaned into the macabre curiosity of viewers who wanted to see what others dared not show. The tagline, "Real footage, no reenactments," became its defining feature and selling point, drawing in audiences who wanted to test their limits. Unlike traditional films, Traces of Death doesn't have a conventional plot. It's a compilation of graphic footage ranging from crime scenes and accidents to medical procedures and wartime atrocities. Each segment is tied together with a dark, nihilistic narration by Fox himself, combined with a haunting industrial music. Segments are presented without much context, relying on shock value and the viewer's morbid curiosity. This lack of narrative structure is intentional, designed to make the viewing experience feel chaotic and unrelenting. Unlike traditional filmmaking, Traces of Death didn't involve on-location shoots or actors. Instead, the film relies entirely on archived footage sourced from various corners of the world. This includes news broadcasts, amateur videos, and even morgue recordings. However, while the filmmakers claimed that all footage was authentic, this approach raised significant ethical questions. Did they have permission to use some of this material? How did they acquire such disturbing clips? These questions remain unanswered and have fueled the film's controversial reputation. This unconventional method of filmmaking involved significant challenges as well. Firstly, acquiring such shocking and authentic material wasn't easy, especially in the pre-internet era. The team would have had to rely on direct access to news stations, coroners, war correspondents, and even black market distributors to obtain these clips. This raised ethical questions. Did the filmmakers have legal rights to distribute some of the footage? Were the victims or their families aware, or even consenting, that their deaths or injuries were being broadcast to a global audience? Another major aspect of the filming process was the editing. Once the raw footage was gathered, the challenge was to organize it into a cohesive and intentionally disturbing experience. Damon Fox, who also served as the narrator, layered the clips with a soundtrack of dark industrial music. The soundtrack was in fact reused from the 1989 movie Robot Ninja. The music wasn't just background noise though, it was a deliberate choice to heighten the emotional intensity of each segment. The editing team worked to create a relentless, chaotic rhythm using rapid cuts and graphic transitions to ensure there were little reprieve for the viewer. The technical process, while simple by today's standards, was still grueling. Most of the footage had to be converted from various formats, such as 8mm, VHS, and even early digital sources, into a unified medium suitable for home video release. Given the sensitive nature of the material, the filmmakers likely faced backlash during production, but they persisted, claiming their goal was to showcase the harsh realities of death without censorship. When it was released in 1993, Traces of Death bypassed traditional theatres and went straight to home video. It became popular in underground circles, particularly among horror and shock enthusiasts. However, it faced significant backlash. Many countries outright banned it, citing its graphic content as exploitive and morally reprehensible. Despite, or perhaps because of it, its controversy, the film found a niche audience, spawning 4 sequels that pushed the boundaries even further. Over 3 decades later, Traces of Death remains a polarizing piece of cinema. It's often cited as one of the most extreme films ever made, inspiring discussions about censorship, the ethics of voyeurism, and humanity's fascination with death. The series has become a cult classic, attracting a dedicated following while repulsing others. Some argue that Traces of Death is a historical document, preserving the raw and unfiltered realities of life. Others see it as exploitative, catering to the base desire for shock and horror. Even though Traces of Death is in the same vein as The Faces of Death, this series is not for the faint of heart. Whether you view it as a daring exploration of life's darkest moments or a purely exploitative cash grab, there's no denying its cultural impact. It forces us to confront difficult questions. Why are we drawn to such graphic content? Is there value in exposing ourselves to the harsh realities of mortality? Or is this simply voyeurism masquerading as art? Let us know in the comments, what do you think about Traces of Death? Does it have a place in horror history, or does it cross the line? Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe for future horror retrospectives. And remember, be critical, be scared.